You would not think that a game could get any more surprising more than 1 year after its release, yet here is Cyberpunk 2077 once more in the middle of a major leak, this time around regarding its first and probably only expansion ahead of its 2023 release. Yeah, it seems that the entire plot point and most of the dialogue has been fully data mined from the game files and then released online. Of course, this video is going to be spoiler free, we're not going to talk about any of that, but we will touch on the subject of which locations will get unlocked in this big DLC/expansion, what characters are playable, because yes, that's totally a surprise over there, and of course a bunch of other stuff, including some bad news about the fact that this might be Cyberpunk's first and only expansion that CD Projekt Red even develops. So let's begin. Of course, getting things out of the way that were a bit more obvious, we have speculated for a very long time that Pacifica would be the district that should be a focus of whatever next expansion is. Well, it seems that CD Projekt Red were thinking pretty much the same. So the new expansion will include an expansion for the Pacifica region. To be more specific, we're gonna get access to a new area called the Combat Zone. According to Cyberpunk 2077's wiki, this is pretty much a walled-off area nestled between the eastern hills of Pacifica and the sub-districts of Coast View and West Wind Estate in southwestern Night City. It seems that it's also ruled by somebody called the General, and there's probably gonna be more goons over there that we will have to encounter. And when I say we, I do not necessarily mean V. It seems that the story in the expansion diverges from V's story, and it happens sometimes around before the point of no return. Even Johnny Silverhand seems to have limited to almost no dialogue in the expansion, and that's mostly because the entire thing has been passed to a new character named Songbird. Now, if you've been playing with the game's files for at least the past few months, even like a year at this point, you already know that the character was in the game files for a very long time, and she looks something like this. Now, what stood out about her was the fact that despite being a character that we never got to interact or even see, she had a ton of customization options to her, like entire outfits and suits for different occasions, a lot of references in-game, but she was not part of any main mission, let alone any of the side missions or gigs. And that's because this is likely the character that CD Projekt Red included in the game files, but just kept for the expansion and decided to make the main character. Personally, I really like the aesthetic, she looks really awesome, the customization definitely is there, and it's likely going to be even more extensive in the expansion. But if you check it with the appearance mod menu, you will notice that there is about like 10 to 12 outfits as it is. She also features a number of very interesting tattoos on her arms and the back. Of course, your guess is as good as mine of what these mean, and if you have any like lore ideas, I would definitely like to know your theories down in the comments. Now, as far as the size of the expansion, it's actually much bigger than we expected. Not only do we get access to that Pacifica Combat Zone, but also the Sports Dome Stadium. Yeah, right now it's inaccessible in the game, but yeah, it seems that it's going to be a main focus in the expansion as well. So who knows, maybe it's the main base of operation for whatever kind of big gang there is in the Pacifica that we did not see yet. Story-wise, surprisingly, it's also quite lengthy. Not as lengthy, obviously, as the main game, but there are 7 main story missions just in the expansion, and on top of that, we also get new fixer quests, new world stories, and new world encounters, most likely pertaining to this new district, but who knows, maybe there's gonna be some new ones in the other districts as well. I would definitely like to see more of the existing ones and maybe even an expansion on some of the existing characters. But as I've said, it's not all good news, there are also some bad news in the mix, one of them being the fact that we'll likely no longer see much of Johnny Silverhand, let alone any of Keanu Reeves' dialogue, simply because not only is this not focused on V anymore from the looks of it, but also because Keanu Reeves might have not included any more recordings for CD Projekt Red following the launch of the game. So whatever we get is just mainly going to be focused on this new character. Unfortunately, it's not all good news, and as I've said, this might be the first and only expansion Cyberpunk gets before CD Projekt Red completely moves over to a different project. In this case, the company's CEO in a recent earnings call meeting mentioned that Cyberpunk's expansion would be the last product based on their Red engine. Any further product will be based on the Unreal Engine. This is of course also the fact that the entirety of the next Witcher game is developed in Unreal Engine 5, as their partnership with Epic Games is in full effect. So here is the audio.
This is the question I can precisely answer. Cyberpunk expansion is the last product based on Red Engine. Any further product will be on Unreal. So starting from...
So yeah, kind of a bummer, kind of a letdown. Of course, not fully yet set in stone. Maybe it's also the way he worded that phrase. I would also think that a game that sold so well and almost creeping towards 20 million units sold would warrant at least one more expansion, not just one, even though it's been like almost 2 years after its release by the time the first expansion hit. And I would also say that according to their recent data, it seems that all of the recent batches and the free DLCs really made a difference, at least for the console copies sold. For the PlayStation, for the Xbox, way more players have bought the game on those consoles after getting all of these fixes more than 1 year after the release. So I personally think it's totally warrant at least one more expansion, and it's not uncommon for CD Projekt Red to change their mind given this success. Totally expect this development team graph right here to change even more. This has already been changed from the last time we saw it a couple of months ago, with the Witcher 3 next gen version also occupying a small part over there as early as April of 2022. Also, the next Witcher IP game occupies a big amount of the team sizes, and finally the Cyberpunk expansion is where most of the development power is concentrated right now, but that's only for now. In the future, these might look totally different. In any case, expect a lot more details in the second half of 2022. It seems that this is basically when CD Projekt Red will start their marketing campaign for the first expansion for Cyberpunk. I cannot wait to see how it looks like having the first few trailers or maybe even a teaser, but I would not expect it right away, even though technically speaking we're getting closer to the half of 2022 as it is, because the Witcher 3 next gen version, even though technically speaking is in the second half of 2022, it gets released in Q4, so pretty late, and I would also expect any gameplay footage to be released closer and closer to that launch. We do get at least that Cyberpunk Edgerunner anime series that personally I'm very excited about. There's a Netflix geek show in the next couple of weeks that should show more of Cyberpunk Edgerunners, and hopefully that's gonna just take some of the steam off until the expansion hits. But in the meantime, totally let me know down below, do you think that CD Projekt Red is doing a huge mistake by not concentrating on a second expansion, or should they just cut their losses, if you can even name them like that, and move over to Witcher 4? Personally, I think the game is already too big and it should just go in the direction of at least one more expansion or something more substantial. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.